Off the Hook, airing on offthehooksports.com. Your home for real news, real opinions, and what really matters about Tennessee athletics. The Off the Hook podcast at offthehooksports.com or Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or wherever you go for your favorite podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, iHeart. Like, share, follow, subscribe. Off the Hook with Dave Hooker starts now.
The man, no question about it. Cooper Mays joining us now, and it's brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning. How about integrity? That's what sets City apart. City is fantastic. CityHeatandAir.com, over 50 years in business. We encourage you to hit that like and subscribe button so that you can see all kinds of great stuff. Like Heath Schuler last week, turn the notifications on. You might not have known that as well. But every week we get to visit with Jacob Warren and Cooper Mays, which I love to do. Coop, that's exactly how you had it planned out, right? The pick game, go into overtime and win it, right? Make it exciting.
Yeah, just how we drew it up, honestly. Definitely made it a little bit harder on ourselves than it should have been probably, but they were a good football team and it was a big time win. So can't ever be too mad about that.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, we could point out mistakes, but at the end of the day, you beat a physical ranked team on the road. That shouldn't just be forgotten because of a couple of mistakes.
Yeah, right. It also, shows you kind of where you stand as a team and what kind of guys you have. It's hard to fight in a long game like that. It's never going to be easy when you get down into overtime and stuff with a team that's in the top 25 on the road. That's not easy at all. So seeing people kind of, come together and just find a way to kind of like dig out of the tough spots that we were in and conquer it. It was nice to see for sure.
I was talking to Jacob earlier, and I wanted to get your take just as it goes into overtime. It seemed like you guys were about to really take control of that game before the third quarter mistakes and then the other fumble punt return. But as it's going into overtime, can you just describe your mindset?
Yeah, my mindset as soon as I figured out that we had the ball first, it was we have to score. So we ended up scoring twice. One of them counted. It was that one did the job. So sometimes you just gotta do it again. So we were able to put it in the end zone once again, and we defense kind of took a stand. They played a heck of a game from the second quarter all the way throughout the rest. I mean, they didn't put up many points at all. So hats off to them.
Yeah, I do want to get to the defense. Jacob said he was a little surprised that Pitt didn't go for two in that situation at the end of the game. Did that cross your mind?
Yeah, I was thinking. I was pondering, what they were gonna do. I didn't know. I mean, coaches always have. I was sitting there thinking, what would I do in this situation? But the coaches seem to have it's not really like a gut feel kind of thing. Coaches usually have it mathematically done out with a call sheet to know what to go for or whatever. So I don't really know. It's up to the head coach. I guess when you're at home, you can be a little bit more passive, but when you're on the road, I think you probably got to try to go for the win because the longer the game draws out as an away team, it's not very good.
I guess in retrospect, they should have gone for two, but hindsight's 2020. Just breaking moments ago, you guys are number 15 in the AP poll and number 16 in the coaches poll. What do you think of that, Coop?
Yeah, it's actually really cool. I mean, I don't really pay attention to much stuff like that, but since I've been here, I think that's probably the highest that we've been ranked. So, I'm pretty happy about that. We're getting a little bit of respect. So we just got to make sure we play up to that ranking. So that's mainly what I'm worried about.
This program, Tennessee's program, is known, and I don't need to tell you this, as an offensive program, light it up, race to 60, and all that. But there are going to be occasions when the defense has to step up. I really thought that they did that, obviously. Just your thoughts on those guys, man. Kudos to them.
Yeah, no doubt. It was very impressive performance by them to hold them down, especially when the offense got bogged down and kind of, was in a little bit of a rut. So, yeah, they played their hearts out. They had a bunch of big stands and, kind of that bend, not break mentality. So they did a really good job. I was very pleased to see that. in a little bit of a contrast towards last year when it seemed like we were kind of just like in a shootout some games. For them to, buckle their, straps down and just hold it kind of steady where it was nice to see.
Yeah, I was very impressed, and then the big play ability, that has to have just such an emotional boost for your football team when you see a sack, a big play, interception, fumble recovery, whatever the case may be. How does that affect the entire team?
Yeah, I mean, it gives everybody morale and confidence is huge in football. So
Mhm.
anytime you can get some, especially in an away environment where you're playing against the home team, they got the crowd on their side. The only way that you can really kind of create your own momentum is by doing it yourself by big plays like that. So anytime you can create turnovers, sacks, big defensive plays, it gives the whole team juice. Especially when you got a offense that can kind of go out there and put points on the board at will. It's big time.
Yeah, speaking of being on the road, I doubt you saw it, but on Twitter, people are sharing Tennessee fans taking over sports bars, and then at the Pirates game, they were singing Rocky Top at the Pirates baseball game. It's just bizarre. Being a Tennessee guy, what does it mean to just look up in the stands and see maybe tens of thousands of people making the trip to Pittsburgh?
Yeah, it was really cool. I mean, I was like you said, I'm a Tennessee guy, so I wasn't, extremely surprised. Tennessee fans are going to be loyal no matter what. But it kind of just goes to, what you can kind of when people talk about, what would this fan base like, what would it look like if we, had a 10-win season or whatever. So kind of just realizing how special our fan base is and kind of put a product on the field that can, match that for sure.
In terms of the defense, want to get back to that just a little bit longer. And this front, as far as the ability to rush the passer from the edge, you saw them in preseason camp. How much better are they at that, especially from the edge? And you were 365 days ago this time last year.
Yeah, I would say, a lot better. Anytime you're around a coach like Coach G, there's really nowhere to go for you but up. He's Coach G and Coach Eck are in there every day, on their butts trying to, refine their technique, their pass rushing and everything. So he's the best in the business, no doubt. He's one of the best coaches, D-line coaches in the whole country. So anytime you get time with him, a span of a year, then if you're not taking huge strides, then that's on you.
What do you think of Byron Young? What makes
He's
him very, very good?
he's a freak athlete. He's a physical specimen, honestly. And he's a really hard worker. I won't don't want to discount that. He worked extremely hard, but the Lord blessed him with some freakish athletic ability and strength. So he's a guy that's about 6'3", 250 or whatever he is, 245. I don't know how extremely accurate that is, but he's a guy like that, but can run like about a 4.5 40 and jump out of the gym about 44 inches. So anytime you have a guy like that that's that big and that explosive, it just mixes for like a really good football player. I don't know exactly why, but if you can mix in that athletic ability and that body, and then and he's a smart football player too, then that's kind of just a mismatch for anybody else.
I want you to be sure and click that subscribe button, click that like button, comment below. You can go ahead and throw in a question if you want to, and maybe I will ask Cooper that on our next visit after the Akron game. So, again, click that subscribe and like button. And Cooper, let's turn to the offense. Let's start with the front. How did you guys grade out in terms of your game against the game against Pitt?
Yeah, we haven't gotten our grades back. We'll get those back tomorrow, but I watched the film back, and there was a lot of good stuff on tape, and of course there's stuff to work on. Like I said, it was nice to see our guys, prevail over a long game against a really good front. I mean, those guys they're the real deal, up front. They create a lot of havoc, they create a lot of disruption, and it's very hard to pick up everybody because there's so many people that line up on the line, and you don't exactly know who's going to drop out and who's going to actually blitz. So it's pretty hard to put hat on a hat, but I was pleased a little bit with the way we played. Always can be better, no doubt though.
So where would that Pitt defensive front rank in the SEC, which I think you and I would agree is the best conference, most physical conference? Where do you think they would rank? Any idea?
Definitely near the top. I don't know what exact number that would be, but I mean their ability to create, disruption and chaos is very elite, I would say. I would say they reminded me a little bit of Georgia last year as far as how hard it was to, protect the quarterback against them, how much chaos and, just working parts were going at the same time. Anytime when bodies start crossing and mix matching and dropping out and coming back, it's just so hard. Stuff happens. It's just bang bang decisions everywhere. So everybody's eyes got to be perfect.
So is it more so what they do schematically or physically or the combination of the two?
I would say schematically plus the players that they have. They have a lot of good players. Number 8, especially Kalijah Cansey. He's was ranked in the top 5 D tackles in the country. He's a preseason All American. So he's a guy kind of like Aaron Donald. He's only about 6'1.5", probably 270, 265. Not very big, but he's he's very athletic and can move very well.
You're right at 300, right? Who do you prefer blocking? Do you prefer the big guys, the 330 guys, or do you prefer the quick guys being a little bit lighter yourself? What are your thoughts
I
on that?
I prefer blocking big dudes. Like I would rather go against Jordan Davis than Kalijah Cansey any day of the week, personally. But that's just me. I'm a smaller guy that uses athleticism to win. So anytime you kind of like fighting fire with fire a little bit, it's hard to get hands on guys that can cover so much ground and be that fast in the middle because you're used to going against bigger bodies that are a little bit slower and stronger. But he's very quick, very athletic.
If there were 2 or 3 things that you would like to accomplish in Akron, again, I don't want to discount Akron, but it is kind of what it is. It's an opportunity to get better this week. How would you guys like to improve? Or there's some things in particular you like to address leading up to this game?
I would say just shoring up our misassignments, make sure everybody's on the right guy. I didn't think we had a lot this past week, especially with the challenge we faced, but just making sure we stay clean and always, play hard, strain, and then lastly, I would say personally, just work on my hands, trusting my hands to be better. It's hard against the front where a lot of people are going every way, so it's hard to trust what's going on, but just kind of let things play out. Yeah.
I know that you said before, I mean, you're so immersed in football, you're not watching every single game, but Alabama got tested by Texas, and then Texas A&M lost to App State, which is a major loss. When you see those type of games, especially the A&M game, do you say, you know, may have not played her best, but wow, how different would this Sunday be had you not been able to pull that out in overtime?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you get a win, you can never just be disappointed in anything, really. It's college football that you can't really take anything for granted. So anytime you get a big win, you got to enjoy it. And then it kind of just goes to show you that, on any given Saturday, anybody can beat anybody, especially in the nowadays college football with the transfer portal and everything. So, talent's probably spread more equally, I would say. And it kind of leads to stuff like this. Like I think Notre Dame got beat by Marshall. You saw a close game from Alabama and Texas, whereas Texas was unranked. Not saying that Texas is a bad program by any stretch of the imagination. They're pretty stout, but definitely didn't think it was going to go down to the wire like that. Just there's examples after examples where you can find big games that are just people probably going into it thinking that they won it already, and then they realize that it probably wasn't as sweet as they thought it would be.
No, yep, you're absolutely right. How does this team react when somebody makes a mistake? Is how important is it to support a teammate when they make a mistake? In particular, I'm thinking of Trayvon Flowers because uh, Jacob had made mention that he was pretty emotional after the game and was so happy to not only pull it out but make a big play. Supporting each other, how important is that?
Yeah, it's huge, honestly. I mean, we're all out there on the same team. We're all trying to get the same thing done. Nobody. I promise you, nobody goes out there on the field and thinks like, "Oh, I'm gonna mess this play up" or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, you got to have grace. It's a bunch of 19 to 21-year-old kids out there, making full speed decisions, and sometimes it just doesn't go your way. And let's also remind ourselves that the other team is also on scholarship. Like they were recruited as well to beat us. You know what I'm saying? Everybody gets beat every few plays, every now and again. It's gonna happen. And if it doesn't happen, then the person you're playing is probably not up to par with who you are. So just keep that in mind. Probably that's what I would say.
I would agree with that. I think fans of all schools think that their team is good and all other teams are evil. That's it's not really the case. As far as what they did defensively, how different or similar was it to what Ball State did the week before, who was really just doing their best to keep things in front of them?
Yeah, completely different. Pitt is one of those teams that I was talking about probably in previous episodes that they like their guys, they like what they do, they know their scheme, and like I said last time, they beat us with it. So you don't really you don't fix what's not broken. So they did something completely different. They ran four down, trusted their DBs to make plays, and that's probably why we threw it a little bit more instead of going to the run. But yeah, completely different is what I would say.
Yep. As far as the performance, the rest of the guys you said you watched the tape. Was there anybody that really stood out that played really well on the offensive line that you saw when you watched?
Yeah, Darnell Wright had a really good game against should have been mainly 87 and 6, I think 87 and 6. So there we go. He had a good game, very very up to par with kind of what I was seeing in fall camp when I said that he was coming along to be really elite with his tools and everything. I like to see him go out there and put things on tape that are good. So he had a really good game. I'm proud of him.
So I stole the phrase from Cooper. It's "I am where my feet are." So my feet are today planning a football watch party for an advertiser for the Florida game. But you've got to focus on the Akron game. Is that at all a challenge when you have a rival that's 2 games away on the horizon? How important is it to be laser focused on what's ahead?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's as important as you think it is. I think if we just talked about a couple minutes ago when you look at Marshall and teams like that pulling off big upsets and App State. I think it's never that you never look over an opponent. So this week, you got to focus in on Akron, and then you move on to the next, and then you worry about Florida. So
So we don't know what's going to happen this week and other places, but you realize we could be having a conversation this time next week that your top 10 team. Wouldn't that be pretty wild given what you've gone through?
oh, yeah. I mean, if you would have asked me during when we were 2-9 or whatever we were, 3-8 or whatever it was, yeah, I probably would have been very surprised. Man, pretty surreal. I haven't been a part of something that good in a while, so pretty cool.
Well, rooting for you. Good luck to you. I think the camera light goes off. That's kind of like at the Oscars when they give the music that it's time for me to go.
Just sometimes I forget. I've got a mommy, so sometimes I forget to move the mouse a little bit to keep it on. It just goes dark.
We'll get you a light. We'll have it shipped your way.
Yeah.
Cooper, I'm not kidding. I've got them. Congratulations on the win. It was a huge one, and that's one you definitely don't want to let slip away because I come away and thinking that you guys still are a considerably better team. But congratulations, buddy. I know you're excited to get moving forward. We appreciate the time. We want you to hit that subscribe and like button because we have a monstrous week coming up headed into Akron. And so hit that subscribe and like button and leave a comment below and maybe I'll read it. A question for Cooper next week after the Akron game. So this has been a production of Off the Hook Sports.